Every single time you step onto that commercial bathroom scale, you are participating in a massive psychological deception that is actively ruining your metabolic health. Here is the dangerous truth that mainstream fitness industries are desperately trying to hide from you. The digital number on that scale is lying straight to your face. You can restrict your calories, drop 10, 15, even 20 pounds, yet still remain completely packed with a highly toxic, inflammatory fat wrapped tightly around your heart, your liver, and your pancreas. This invisible killer has a name. It is called visceral fat, and it is the exact biological driver silently triggering type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, fatty liver, and cellular mutations leading to cancer in millions of unsuspecting adults right now. But here is the reality that will change your entire perspective. Visceral fat, despite being the single most destructive tissue inside your body, is also the easiest fat to metabolically target once you bypass conventional fitness myths and unlock the exact biochemical triggers. In this blueprint, we cover the precise molecular foods, the targeted botanical drinks, and the exact physical activation mechanics that force your body to oxidize internal fat faster than any pharmaceutical intervention. Stay until the end, because I will reveal the single most powerful exercise threshold ever documented, a protocol that crushed internal visceral fat by 48% in just 8 short weeks. Not a year, just 2 months. The overwhelming majority of people believe burning belly fat is simple arithmetic. Eat less, exercise more, and watch the number drift downward. That outdated conventional wisdom is not only wrong, it is biologically dangerous. Clinical data clearly demonstrates that you can trap your body in a massive caloric deficit, watch your weight drop on the scale, and yet your internal visceral fat, the highly active inflammatory tissue suffocating your vital organs, can actually continue to grow inside your abdominal cavity. This is documented under advanced MRI imaging in clinical labs globally. Today, we install the solution. Let us begin with the ultimate cellular food weapon almost every consumer walks past in the grocery aisle: carotenoid-rich whole foods. Carotenoids are lipid-soluble natural pigments synthesized by plants, responsible for the vibrant oranges in carrots, the reds in tomatoes, and the dark greens in spinach. But the coloration is secondary to their molecular utility. When ingested, these organic pigments function as aggressive, high-potency intracellular antioxidants within your adipose tissue. This matters because visceral fat accumulation is not just caused by excess calories, it is fundamentally driven by chronic low-grade inflammation and cellular mitochondrial dysfunction. When your body is trapped in oxidative stress, your fat cells enter a hyper-reactive state, signaling your metabolism to store protective fat around your visceral organs. Carotenoids neutralize circulating free radicals, shutting down the inflammatory cascade at the genetic level. Once absorbed into circulation, carotenoids directly upregulate the genes responsible for fat oxidation, while silencing the genetic switches that command your liver to store visceral lipids. In a randomized, double-blind clinical trial conducted by Metabolic researchers in Japan, scientists tracked controlled carotenoid intake on abdominal fat distribution. Just 8 weeks of structured carotenoid-rich vegetable intervention produced a statistically significant reduction in visceral fat density across every active group without changing daily caloric thresholds. You do not need a synthetic prescription or expensive capsule. You simply need to flood your system with carrots, sweet potatoes, vibrant bell peppers, raw squash, and dense leafy greens daily. Non-negotiable. Our secondary weapon is a botanical liquid that will revolutionize your morning routine: premium green tea, specifically high-grade matcha or sencha. Raw green tea leaves are packed with bioactive compounds called catechins, most notably a hyperpotent flavonoid called epigallocatechin galatea. These catechins execute a three-pronged attack on visceral fat. First, they accelerate fat oxidation by preventing the degradation of norepinephrine, the hormone responsible for signaling your body to break down stored fat. Second, they move into your digestive tract and inhibit pancreatic lipase, a key fat processing enzyme, physically blocking dietary fats from being absorbed and ensuring they are flushed out rather than stored around your liver. Third, the natural caffeine in green tea works in synergy with catechins, creating a metabolic environment that targets deep visceral reserves over superficial skin fat. In a gold standard, placebo-controlled randomized trial, individuals consuming approximately 600 milligrams of enriched green tea catechins daily experienced a massive targeted reduction in visceral fat over 12 weeks. Completely independent of overall body weight. You must abandon stale commercial tea bags and use minimally processed, vibrant green matcha or loose-leaf sencha, which retain the highest catechin density. Swap your standard coffee for this clean metabolic fuel, and your internal organs will begin reversing decades of fat accumulation. While optimizing food and fluid intake creates a hostile environment for internal fat, if your goal is to completely obliterate visceral fat, you must introduce the final mechanical trigger. This is where the data becomes jaw-dropping and upends everything modern personal trainers tell you about working out. A comprehensive meta-analysis evaluating over 117 clinical trials confirmed a fact most physicians omit during consultations. While strict dietary manipulation has a larger overall effect on total weight loss, targeted physical exercise exerts a massively superior effect on reducing dangerous visceral fat specifically. Physical movement is vastly more powerful than caloric restriction when it comes to saving your internal organs from visceral suffocation. Consider the methodology of one breakthrough study that left researchers stunned. Participants did not engage in brutal, hours-long gym sessions. They executed exactly 2 45-minute cycling sessions per week at a moderate to vigorous intensity, maintaining roughly 70 to 80% of their maximum heart rate. This is the precise state where you can still speak a sentence, but sound noticeably winded. After just 8 weeks of this minimal 2-session protocol, their visceral organ fat dropped by 48%. Nearly half of their most dangerous internal toxic fat vanished in 60 days. Simultaneously, their insulin sensitivity skyrocketed by 41%, and they shed 18% of their subcutaneous skin fat. A systematic review of 84 randomized controlled trials confirmed that vigorous intensity aerobic exertion and high-intensity interval training are the undisputed winners for visceral fat destruction. While resistance training remains vital to preserve skeletal muscle mass and endocrine health, if your primary target is the immediate elimination of toxic organ fat, you must prioritize cardiovascular intensity. The data proves exercise-induced visceral fat loss is entirely dose-dependent. The more you push your heart rate into that 70 to 80% zone, the more aggressively your liver pulls fat out of storage to burn as fuel. Unlike severe food restriction, which hits a hard metabolic plateau and stalls thyroid hormones, strategic physical exertion continuously delivers compound results. More intensity means more visceral fat permanently destroyed. This brings us to the psychological trap that destroys consistency for millions worldwide. You implement the colorful vegetables, master the green tea protocol, execute intense cardio sessions, and yet after 3 weeks, the number on your bathroom scale barely moves. You feel defeated, assume your metabolism is broken, and abandon the routine. This is tragic because in the exact clinical trial where visceral fat was cut by 48%, the total body weight of participants stayed virtually identical. The scale barely budged. Inside their abdominal cavities, a monumental transformation had occurred, organs freed from inflammatory suffocation, insulin sensitivity restored, biological age dropped significantly, yet the scale showed zero progress. You must permanently detach your emotional state from that single, incomplete metric. Your total weight includes water retention, glycogen storage, muscle density, and bone mass. It cannot differentiate between safe tissue and toxic visceral fat. Your true indicators of success are your narrowing waist circumference, your rising energy levels, how easily you manage stairs, and the clean metabolic markers on your doctor's upcoming blood work. Trust the unyielding laws of human biochemistry. If you are feeding your system carotenoids, blocking fat absorption with clean catechins, and forcing your heart rate into the fat oxidation zone, your internal architecture is shifting dramatically, regardless of what that piece of bathroom plastic claims. Let us synthesize this into a flawless daily strategy. First, ingest carotenoid pigments daily via carrots, sweet potatoes, dark peppers, and fresh spinach to modulate your fat-burning genes. Second, consume high-grade matcha or sencha green tea daily to block lipid absorption and accelerate tissue oxidation. Third, execute at least 2 45-minute cardiovascular sessions per week, holding your heart rate between 70 and 80% of maximum to trigger that 48% visceral drop. And fourth, permanently stop allowing a generic scale number to dictate your psychological worth or your clinical progress. You possess the definitive, peer-reviewed science. Execute the protocol, save your internal organs, and share this with someone you care about today. Leave your age and your starting strategy in the comments below, and I will see you in the next breakdown.